Good evening and welcome to the AV Forums Movies Podcast on Monday, the 3rd of April, 2023. Tonight, I am not Kaz Harlow, as you may have noticed.
Hooray!
So we're going to have a party.
Are you Tom, though? You look slightly different.
Yes, I have been replaced by a younger clone of Tom, just like what happens in that Star Trek movie that we might talk about later.
Nice. Next segue.
Tonight I am joined, of course, by Simon Crust.
Make it so.
And this old guy.
Evening all.
Mark Costello. Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Apparently it is nearly First Contact Day. I am a massive nerd, so I would like... But I don't keep track of these things. But according to other people, it's only First Contact Day.
Terrible.
So we are going to be talking about some Star Trek-y type things this evening. So you've got that to look forward to, especially as I think, do we all have now a copy of the TNG movies in 4K in our possession?
Yes. Yes, it arrived this afternoon.
So we will talk a little bit about that and maybe
show and tell. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if we can do some show and tell, if you've got it with you, we can all like show our identical
Oh no, mine's downstairs. God damn it.
Mine's in the other room. I'm not. It's fine. We'll just see Simon's. It's okay. We'll do as well, I think, maybe a little bit of a roundup on late stage Picard season 3, because
we are in the end game.
Yeah, and it has, we'll talk about it later, but it has continued to be passable. So yes, if you don't give a damn about Star Trek, please stick around anyway, because we're also going to be looking at the amazing second sight release of the Texas Chain Saw Massacre in 4K. Boy,
Yes.
oh boy, cannot wait for that. And we're also going to look at the new Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Hurrah!
Which, if you're watching, you can see a screen capture of it behind me. Anyway.
Yes, we can.
Current competitions. Let's talk about competitions. Would you like to talk to us about competitions, Mark?
Well, you know me, Tom. I always love to talk to you about competitions. So in honor of First Contact Day, we've got a couple of special comps going with Star Trek The Next Generation 4 movie collection on 4K up for grabs, as well as Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 on, I believe that's regular, boring old 1080p blue. In addition, we've got Criterion's April and March Blu-rays, as well as 4K compos for the City of Lost Children, Virgin Suicides, and the superb limited edition box set of Martin. Those last few are all supporter exclusives, by the way. Plus, we've still got a couple of standard competitions for Studio Canal and Lionsgate entries in last month's Top 10 Blu-ray Countdown to win. So if any of those tickle your proverbial fancy, head over to avforums.com/competitions to enter. And as ever, all competitions are open to eligible AV Forums members resident in the UK.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
What about some people who have won some stuff? There's not many.
No, we just well. To be fair, I think there's a lot, but we're only going to, because in the issue with brevity going on, we're going to talk about Plum Bob Mummy. Nice. Won Vengeance on Blu-ray, while star supporter The Thing WNN won The Cursed Films from Shudder Season 1 on Blu-ray. So well done to them, and well done to everyone else who's won compos over the last couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. And tell us what you think of those when you get them, you guys, because I'm interested to hear your thoughts. We're all interested to hear your thoughts on the things that you win for free. That's why you should sign up and become a supporter of AV Forums. You get access to all these competitions, and you're basically, at some point, guaranteed to win.
You're all
not a guarantee. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on at the cinema the last couple of weeks. Here in the running order, it says we should talk about John Wick Chapter 4.
Yes.
Have you seen it, Simon?
That's a film.
Have you seen it, Mark?
No.
I also haven't seen it.
Hooray!
I imagine Keanu Reeves punches and or shoots a man. So 5 stars. Or men.
Several, I would hazard a guess.
Yes.
So
go on.
I was going to say
stylized music and very pretty lights.
So only Kaz. Where is Kaz, by the way? How dare he not be here?
He's learning how to be an Avenger in Disneyland Paris.
He is. The Lord and Master is strapped on some Iron Man gloves.
And he is the only one who has seen Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
Disgraceful.
It does look like I have seen the screen grab that's been going around of Scott Adkins in a fat suit. That's quite exciting.
I want to see him if he still moves like Scott Adkins in that suit.
He's got to. It's gonna be genius. That's the only thing that I'm gonna watch it for.
It's like the reverse problem of The Irishman with the with the young faces on the doddery old bodies. It's gonna be like the opposite of that, isn't it? It's gonna be, can't wait.
Yeah. So moving on from that, please do go to the website because Kaz has written a comprehensive review and he thoroughly enjoyed it, I think. It's one of those movies where if you have liked any John Wick movie, I'm sure you will get a lot out of this.
Yes.
But yeah, go and check out Kaz's words that he's written down and published on that there internet because they're good. How about then something that at least 2 of us have seen? The Dungeons and the Dragons, Honor Among Thieves.
Oh, the Dungeons and the Dragons, yes.
Mark, tell us about it. You saw it.
Yes, I did see it. And I think anyone who saw the trailer instantly got the measure of what the film was going for. It is Game of Thrones meets Guardians of the Galaxy.
Without the boobies.
So, yeah, I was just thinking there, what boobies were in Guardians of the Galaxy and then realised it was the other one. Yes.
I mean, it's Batista's boobies. That's the boobies that are in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Let's get off the boobies. There's no boobies in Dungeons and Dragons, kids. But anyway, this Dungeons and Dragons, yes. Now, I have absolutely no skin in the game when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. I've never played the game. I've survived the 2000 film, although, to be fair, what I remember of it was quite chortlesome, as those who can see Tom's screen grab will attest to. But this, it was everything you could imagine having sat through the 2-minute trailer. It is fairly generic fantasy plotting 101. A good-looking but down on his luck charming thief and his barbarian BFF are hoodwinked, I tell you, on a scam to steal an ancient relic from a ancient tomb type thing somewhere in some ancient world, somewhere or other.
Would it be in a dungeon, perhaps?
No.
Oh,
very wrong there, Simon. So it's things need to be got so that something else can happen, so that something else can happen, so that something else can happen. It is your typical quest type movie. Now, what doesn't help that along here is that the look of the entire film is also a little bit bland for me. There's no real visual personality or striking character notes about it. It looks about as generic as the plot is. However, what absolutely saves the film for me is its witty tone, its irreverent cast of characters who all seem to be having an absolute whale of a time. And it's just super fun, super charming. It won't stick in your brain 5 minutes after you've left the cinema. But if you want a couple of hours good time in the cinema, yeah, this pretty much ticks all the boxes. So I expected it to be far worse than it was. What about you, Tom? I suspect, Tom, you may have a slightly different opinion.
Do you know what? I don't. I think for the first time in history, perhaps, I basically agree with every word you've said, Mark.
Is the sky falling? Oh, it's the end of the days.
It's I have been a D&D player in my youth, so now. And there are some nods to D&D, but it's mostly like name checking. All of the references to Dungeons and Dragons are basically inconsequential Easter eggs. It could be any generic fantasy movie. There is very little about it that makes it like definitely recognizable as something that's come from Dungeons and Dragons. The only thing, so there's the name check. So they come, even if you're not like a role player, if you played video games in the 90s and early 2000s, the crew come from Icewind Dale through Baldur's Gate to Neverwinter. So if you're a video game player of any kind, you may recognize some of those names, which is quite nice. And there are silly things in there, like there's an owl bear, which is one of the sort of mascotty bad guys for Dungeons and Dragons. No Beholder, which is the monster that probably most people associate with it, which is just like the big eye monster, the floating head with hundreds of eyes. Like, that's not in it, unfortunately. I was waiting for
but crazy,
but very silly. But the only definitely D&D aspect that they captured quite nicely was within the Band of Thieves. There are very clearly classes represented. So the druid, the wizard, the bard, the barbarian. So that's quite nice, and they do a good job of giving it like the kind of levity that you might have if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons and you weren't that invested in it, which is how I used to play it, which is quite nice. So I sort of identified with it. But as I was watching it, that sort of led me to think like, is this movie just aimed at me? Which is fine if it is, but if it is, I'm still only probably giving it 6 or 7 out of 10. So I don't know how successful as a venture it's going to be.
No, well, I mean, I think we know how successful it was with the opening weekend's box office numbers. The answer is not very. I think it was it 38.5 million?
Something along those lines, yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, it was in line with predictions. I think they were predicting a 40 million, so it's not far off. But I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because, like you said, it's fans of the game franchise, are serious mega fans. And how do you pitch a film to appeal to the broadest spectrum of the audience, the vast majority of which will not be those diehard fans, and end up appeasing both? So, I mean, what's interesting, Tom, is you still had quite an okay time with it, and you're at the fan end of the spectrum, as opposed to myself, who can't even spell D&D, and still ended up having just as good a time with it. But I mean, I think thinking about it, and I know I said you don't think about it 5 minutes after you leave the cinema, but I saw a lot of the negative reports that came out over the weekend about it. Sadly, some of it was to do with the box office. Then again, you had all the usual stuff about a very poor quote from the film's directors about enjoying emasculating their leading men, which was said in jest, but has led to the claims of woke against the film and all this kind of stuff, which I didn't pick up on at all.
No, it's not. It's just dumb fun. It's a couple of hours of dumb fun, which is okay.
That's exactly it. But I have to say, I mean, super charming Chris Pine. I mean, I loved him as Prince Charming in Into the Woods. I have a lot of time for his Kirk, and he was on great fun, but he played really well off Michelle Rodriguez in this, and those two as a double act, they had a little bit of everything. Rodriguez gets by far and away the best fight choreography, and some of it is absolutely insane. It wouldn't be out of place in the latest Wick film. But it's that chemistry, it's the charisma that the cast brought. Regé Jean, what's his surname? I can never pronounce it. Regé Jean Page. There you go. I see he's been quite divisive, but I thought he brought a very different kind of fun to the group, and added an awful lot to them. And that's what you go for with this film. You don't go for the immense dragons. The finale, the set piece that takes place in the third act was actually really quite well done. I, as a fan of the 80s animated series, almost wet myself when I saw the nice little nod to the animated TV show in there. And the entire sort of final act. Normally these things are the bits that disappoint, but I actually thought it was put together really well. It had excitement, it had thrills, but you come away having enjoyed spending time with that cast and those characters, not having spent time in a living, breathing fantasy world. But I still enjoyed it far more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy right at the beginning, and while watching it, you cannot escape. You cannot escape the fact that this is a fantasy version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it almost feels cheeky how closely it hews to that first Guardians movie. Right down to you can almost pinpoint character transpositions and that character would say that and that and sort of about 2/3 of the way through, that sort of fatigued me a bit. I felt a bit like it was kind of low effort. I think that's probably the worst thing that you can say about it, is that it is occasionally low hanging fruit. But because it's low hanging, they pick it quite easily and you move on, and it's okay and it works well enough for what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A strong, well, no, not a strong, but a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, I was going to say it's not going to kick off a new franchise, but the original one kicked off a franchise of sorts, because didn't Uwe Boll
I don't know
what was it called?
There were two others. There were two DTV follow-ups.
Oh wait, no. Did he make the Dungeon Siege movie rather than
yes, okay. He did the Dungeon Siege movie. That's right, and the Blood Rain movie. And oh dear me.
But there were a couple of follow-ups to the 2000 movie.
DTV only though. I think wasn't Statham in one? No.
Yes. Yes. I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Blimey.
Good times.
There we go. There's a franchise binge if ever there was one.
You should go back and watch the one from 2000.
I will. I'm going to.
Just so much fun. Like Richard O'Brien is it. Tom Baker is in it. Jimmy Olsen, 90s Jimmy Olsen is in it. It's terrible. But
what's bizarre is I remember exactly going to the cinema to see it. I think I saw it around the same time as bloody Space Truckers or some other such nonsense like that. But yes, no, I am actually looking forward to going back just for Jeremy Irons chewing the furniture. So.
And there is a really bizarre a talented Mr. Ripley joke in the movie as well, which it just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Well, let's face it, if you're gonna aim high brow. Yes. Quality.
Yeah.
So yes, kids, go and see Dungeons and Dragons. They need their money. Trust me.
Yeah. And Chris Pine is a nice guy, or he seems like a nice guy.
I like Chris Pine.
I wasn't convinced when he started being Kirk. I was not on board. I thought he was rubbish until Beyond. I quite liked him in Star Trek Beyond, but as I was watching Dungeons and Dragons, I just couldn't get out of my head William Shatner. So he's clearly now he's nailed it. He's got it.
Shat. Nice.
Yeah, they should bring him back for a 4th Star Trek movie. I'll watch that. I'm the only person who would, maybe.
No, I would watch it. I like anyway. No, let's save that.
Well, do you know what? Let's move on to it immediately. Let's because we've exhausted what's going on at the cinema.
Yes,
and we have no interest in talking about the family fare that has been released for Easter. Good Lord, that looks like Dross, the mummies and the egg story movie. No, let's move on from that.
Don't see that.
No. There is Star Trek coming. If you have pre-ordered it, you've probably got it today, as all of us seem to have done. And Simon has had it for a couple of days now.
I got it on Saturday morning.
There you
My
go.
review
Lucky
set.
swine.
Yes.
Lucky swine.
Yes. So I've managed to watch all 4 of the films. The written reviews will probably be up tomorrow. Whether or not they go live, they may go on early access for a little while.
Good work.
So yes, but we will talk about them now. I think, don't you?
Yeah, let's have your first thoughts.
There's going to be a little bit of show and tell now, so apologies for those who are not watching and are just listening. The first thing I want
to describe what
the first thing I want to put up is this set here. So this is the Blu-ray set, the 2009 Blu-ray set of the Next Generation films. Now, just have a look at that cover there. I know it's a bit shiny. You can see my camera and chair reflected. Maybe if I take it out.
No, it's nice. It's clean.
If I take it out of the plastic.
I mean,
there you
it's
go.
Elegant. Very elegant.
That is a nice looking box, isn't it? There's the films in there, completely black, like the blackness of night, and there you go. And now we come to the new set. Look at that dog's dinner. I mean, how ugly is that? Just doesn't do anything for me whatsoever.
Do you know what it is? It's the studios stealthily and subliminally forcing us to buy the individual releases at an inflated price. That's what it is.
You think you actually save money if you buy them individually, don't you? Well, and $19.99 each, and this is £80. So you save like 4 pence by buying them.
That, and it's just part of the ongoing trend to put as many faces on the cover of a film as humanly possible.
But it's not even good artwork, is it? It's just awful. I don't like it at all. Look at Geordie, my God. Not like this set. This is pretty damn fine. This is...
That's not Star Trek, Simon.
No, but it's as good, isn't it? Doctor Who playing at the same time. Come on.
And
Sea Devils with an Atmos track. How cool would that be? Come on, the Sea Devils with an Atmos track.
So, Simon, when is your review of the outer box art going up? 4 out of 10. Too many heads.
Absolutely. So, I mean, look. So here's the set here. This is the new 4K set here. It's got this is hard cardboard. This thing. And then you've got the two disc sets inside. This is the 4K one. This is the Blu-ray. They're exactly the same. There's 4 discs in each. If I open it up, you can see there are 4 discs. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, nice! 4. They're not stacked. Brilliant.
Nope. So they're all individual. And what I find quite interesting. Let's look at the certificates. So PG for Generations. You've got First Contact as a 12. Insurrection is a PG, and 12 for Nemesis, and yet the whole set is a 15.
Maybe there's a swear in a making of.
Yeah, it'll be the making
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. The Generations Blu-ray is the 15 certificate. So this Blu-ray set here costs these being a whole 15 set. So interesting. Yes, no, of course it's not. Moving on. So we have 4 films. Generations was the first film. That's what I was going to say as well. Yes, the Blu-ray set 2009 was a horrible picture. I don't know if you guys must have seen it. It was DNR'd, it was edge enhancement, it was smeary. It was just a nasty picture. Very, very poorly treated. And so Paramount have gone back to the original. If you can believe the internet, of course, is where I get my information from, has a new 4K scan and interpositive scan. So of all 4 films, and I think I can believe that because the pictures are immeasurably better. Nice. They are immeasurably better. Have you guys seen any of them yet?
I only watched First Contact.
Okay,
but it looks beautiful, especially
absolutely
the Dolby Vision on it, as well as the crispness of it, and it just looks like the best memory you have of it, which is so nice. It's exactly what you want from a set like this.
So if we go to the first one, Generations, 2.39 to 1, Dolby Vision, HDR10, really nice looking. really good looking, fabulous detail throughout. There's a very nice grain structure all throughout, so we know it's not been DNR'd. There's great detail there. The Dolby Vision on it gives very, very nice colouring to it, and particularly when the Enterprise, the crash sequence and that beautiful model, that looks absolutely spectacular, absolutely brilliant. Very, very pleased with that. You just mentioned First Contact. That too is 2.39 to 1 Dolby Vision HDR. Again, beautiful detail, and there's some magnificent shots here. The three shots that most people talk about is the first opening pullback from Picard's eye when it comes back to see the Borg cube. That looks sensational, absolutely sensational. The next one is when the Borg Queen comes down and goes into her body. That's okay. The CG there works pretty well actually, so it looks good. And the other one is the walk towards the deflector shield on the outside of the ship and the pullback and the look of the planet there. That's another. It looks spectacular, absolutely spectacular. When you go down to Earth, you've got the foliage, the trees, the grass, the dirt, the town there. It all looks amazing. The colouring looks brilliant. The darkness that you get in the Enterprise when the Borg take over, it looks brilliant. Much better than it's ever looked before. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Very impressive. I didn't mention the sound on Generations. In fact, all the discs now have they don't have any Dolby Atmos, which is a shame, but they do have a True HD 7.1 track. Now that is 2 more speakers than the Blu-ray set had, because they were 5.1. 2 whole new speakers right at the back. But it's based off the same mix, essentially, and they're all very, very good. They're all very good. Generations is probably of all of them. Generations is probably the worst one. It's a little bit, say worst. It's much more front heavy than it is a surround experience. Unlike First Contact, which is an extravaganza. It's fantastic. Really, really good surround aspect of that one. We'll go to
Insurrection
next. Now, Insurrection. What do we think of Insurrection?
I think
do we like it, or do we?
Yeah, I think it is good. I'm gonna just go off on one slightly.
Go on.
I know that it's not the underdog of the TNG movies. Obviously, that's Nemesis, but I think it's downplayed quite a lot. But I think if you look at First Contact and Insurrection as a pair, I think they fully capture what people loved about TNG when it was on the first time. It's a really nice pairing of films where if somebody asked you what's TNG like, you could say, watch these 2 movies. It's sometimes like that, but it's usually like that. And that's kind of why I like them together. You've got the bombastic, exciting, action-oriented, sort of nonsensical stuff of First Contact, which is, I think, almost universally loved.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the slightly more thematically involved, more conceptual, less exciting, much slower Insurrection. But both of them work like a TNG 2-parter from the early 90s. It's just that one of them is a mid-season 2-parter and one of them is a between-season 2-parter. That's why I like it anyway.
Good. No, I'm glad you said that, Mark.
I like it as well, and for exactly the same reasons, but also it's worth it anyway, just to set up that brilliant quip from Captain Shaw in the last episode of Picard. Because what was it? He was ribbing Picard about his flagrant disregard for the Prime Directive, and it was something like, "Well, I wasn't the one that broke the Prime Directive, so I could get off with an alien villager or something." Just a little throwaway line that just had me in stitches. So Insurrection is worth it just for that gag in Picard.
Absolutely. You've both echoed my own feelings of it. It is generally thought of as an underdog, or as a poor man's TV film. But what is, I find, so engaging about it is the ethical dilemma and the the way that the crew and the audience get behind Picard, because the series was about his leadership and his absolute pure paragon of virtue ethics. He was right, and he was Starfleet. That he stood for what was right, and he did in that film. He didn't in any of the other films, but he did during the series, and that's why I like it. He is a very, very strong, powerful leader, and that's why that film is so good. They do work good as a pair, and I would put them on par with each other, First Contact and Insurrection. I think they are as good as each other, but for different reasons. One is the pure action shoot 'em up. You've got the ball back. Obviously, there's the history of Star Trek itself is in mortal danger if they can't get the warp flight going. Whereas the other one, you're talking about forcibly removing people from their planet to somewhere else. It's very, very different type stories, but just as good, and I really, really like it. And in the written review, I'll go into a little bit about why I think it's as good. So there we go. I'm very pleased that you two are on board with that. Fan. Excellent. So the picture 2.35 to 1 Dolby Vision HDR. Again, it's been treated extremely well. Detail is fantastic throughout. There's a lot of location stuff in this one. The valleys and the lake with the mountains in the background. It just looks brilliant. The briar patch looks awesome in the HDR with all the sparks and the flash gun. The phases look brilliant. The starships look great because they're all CG this time. There's no model work in this one as there was in First Contact. So they look very good. The only bit of ropey 3D I thought was the collecting tool thing when its flappy wings come out. That looks a little bit dodgy, but other than that, the rest of it looks great. Again, very, very nice grain structure, very, very good coloring, top-notch picture, very, very good. And then we come to the dog's dinner, which is the last one. What a shame.
It's basically unwatchable, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, okay, so
it's not that
see, the thing is, it's like a lot of the modern Trek. It's not a Star Trek film. You could take the Star Trek name away, and you've got a good science fiction film, and that's really the only way to view it. It's a bit of a shame.
It's easily second or third worst Star Trek movie. Easily.
Do you know what though? Just lose the stupid ass beach buggies. Lose them.
Huh?
Oh yeah, that
instantly better.
Yeah, instantly a point
instantly
higher.
Better.
Yeah,
I agree. The studio mandated director that was put in charge, Stuart Baird.
Well, he was an editor, isn't he?
He didn't. He famously says, "I don't know anything about Star Trek. I'm not interested in it. I don't like having to work with this team of people who all know each other. And there's an established history." The Ryan Johnson of the Star Trek, he come along and wanted to do his own thing, and he almost got away with it. He's just kind of ruined it.
The Last Jedi.
I was about to leap to the defense of Ryan Johnson. It's more like J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams said exactly the same thing, that he was not a Star Trek fan, and that kind of shows.
Yeah, but that was just a flex so we could get Star Wars. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But look, I like Tom Hardy. I like the Tom Hardy Patrick Stewart through line in that.
Nope.
And I like Tom Hardy in it.
I don't think he's very good in it.
It's not very good in it.
Well, Yabu sucks to you.
He is like, you can't look at Tom Hardy and go, oh yeah, he's going to be Patrick Stewart in it. No.
When they bounce off each other, I didn't feel the energy, the hatred, the chemistry between them. You think of in First Contact when you've got Lily and Picard doing that shouting match in the back there. How excellent, how well written it is, how intense that scene is. That's the kind of chemistry, intensity you needed between these two, the younger and the old. And it didn't really work. It wasn't really there.
Even the Picard TV show, which seems intent on referencing as much of the TNG movies as it possibly can. I don't want to go into too many spoilers, but Data, Lore, and B4 are mentioned. But like Data and Lore, there's some history there, and we get some plot off the back of it. And it's like, oh, also B4 as well. Remember B4? Not really. It doesn't matter. He's not involved.
Absolutely. So yeah, very much the run, particularly of the 4 films. If you take, the 10 films as a whole, it's still, pretty
It's
low.
low. It's lower tier.
It's
yeah,
low down.
But I will gladly watch it.
It's not as good as Star Trek 5.
Ooh, now there's a debate to fill an hour.
It's not as fun. It's not as enjoyable. It's a slog. Star Trek 5 is kind of a slog, but at least it's goofy in a Star Trek way, whereas Nemesis is goofy in like the wrong way.
It's the wrong way. Like, they'd make a lot of very, very poor decisions in it.
Yeah,
very, very poor decisions. But at least it looks good. Yeah, 2.35 to 1 Dolby Vision, HDR10, and it looks very, very good. Latest film stock, very a nice grain structure. Blacks are superb, absolutely superb, because there's it's a very, very dark film, this one. He wanted to make it look different to Star Trek, and and it seems that everyone has followed on from his look of the Enterprise, his look of Shinzo on ship, the scimitar, how black it is, and the very bright lights in the background. So it looks amazing. Yeah, very, very, very pleased with the look. Dolby Vision gives it some really intense colouring, except for that Dune buggy thing. I did check the Blu-ray against it, actually. Incidentally, the Blu-rays are the updated versions. So on the new versions, you've got the updated, the new scans. So they're not the old scans. So that at least is something. Yeah, it was heavily filtered to look like some alien planet, wasn't it? This Dune buggy thing. And the HDR seems to really blow it out. There's the highlights on it. It was always very, very bright, but the intensity seemed just a tweak too high to my liking. You tend to start losing the detail. Again, I swapped it for the Blu-ray, put them together. There is a bit of detail missing on the Blu-ray, but there seems to be more missing on the 4K. I think the intensity of the HDR in the bright highlights, particularly when the ship's coming down to land and the Dune buggy jumps out and the flashes, it's just a little bit too much, I think. But other than that, again, we ignore that bit, don't we?
Well, go on, Mark.
I was just saying, the moral of the story there is you can't polish a turd.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just going to say, for a bit of heresy, that sounds like a similar problem to the one I had with the Arrow Pitch Black. I also found that having enjoyed the stylization of the yellow and blue, when I watched it, I think I upgraded straight from DVD to 4K. So, but it felt like they'd overdone it in terms of the color saturation, just because it's like you remember the look of it. Yeah,
more nits.
Give it the nits. Give your nits a workout. And so. I don't get me wrong. I still thought the Arrow Pitch Black 4K was awesome, and it looks amazing. But if I had to nitpick one thing, it was that the alien color filtering was just a little bit out of whack for me. And it sounds like that's what you're saying about Nemesis as well, which is
but only in that scene. The rest of it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the sound. The sound on Insurrection again. Dolby 8 True HD 7.1, a much quieter track, quieter, and it's not as bombastic compared to the films either side of it, which are action orientated. This is a much quieter film. That's not to say it's not as good, because it's very natural, it's very good surround environment, but it's just you don't expect very much punch from that. But I found it a very, very good track. The Nemesis track is stonking. Absolutely stonking. Tremendous bass. There's when the scimitar first turns up and slows down in front of the Enterprise just outside Remus, there's a fantastic bass drop, goes really, really low. I enjoyed that very much, and lots of explosions when the two ships hit each other, lots of cracks and rumbles and brilliance, loads of surround stuff. That's a very, very good track. All the extras on the set, all present and correct. Everything that was ever been released before is all there. Nothing new, unfortunately. I don't suppose there is much new they can say, really.
Nothing new, but there is something missing, which is that in the you showed the TNG Blu-ray set.
I did. You have this Evolutions I can whip it out.
That's right.
This
And
Evolutions set here, which is a dedicated Blu-ray of extras. This is not replicated in this set.
And not only that, but it also, in the combined Blu-ray set that they released, the Stardate collection, which had all 10 movies, there was an additional DVD called the Captain Summit, which was just a round table between the Star Trek captains. And I really enjoyed watching that. And I've still got it, so I can watch it if I want to, but that's not in either of the sets, which is kind of a shame.
They've got to save something for the inevitable upcoming 10 film set, Tom. Come on.
I'm so foolish. You're absolutely right.
We know it's coming.
Yeah.
And we'll probably buy it again.
Thank you, Simon. That was a fully comprehensive look at the new set.
Appetite whetted, man. Yeah. I'm going to go and watch one tonight.
I had an absolute blast revisiting First Contact.
It is a great set. I mean, it's worth buying literally because the pictures are so much better. The extra 2 speakers on the sound per film, you can argue that makes a difference. The extras themselves are exactly the same, so that in itself isn't an upgrade at all. But the pictures are worth it. They are superb. So far better than the original Blu-rays that they were on. Much better.
It's good because it doesn't have the USP that the original 6-film set have of including the new director's cut of the motion picture. So it kind of you've kind of got to really want it in order, or the impression was that you had to kind of want it in order to buy it. But actually, if it's that kind of improvement on the Blu-rays, then it's worth it for sure.
Definitely.
So can we talk about this one now?
Do you know what? We'll save that for next time, Simon.
Okay.
Let's table that one for later, because we've not got all the time in the world, and I really don't want to alienate everyone who hates Star Trek. Although, to be honest, you've gone already.
We do need to talk about Picard a little bit.
I'm really sorry, but if you don't like Star Trek, then I can't do anything for you. Because this isn't the place for you. I'm really sorry. Go and find another podcast about people who hate Star Trek.
Yes,
anyway, don't find another podcast. Stay here. Stay with us. Stay here. Because we've got Mark's review of the Texas Chain Saw Massacre just gone live on the site yesterday. Was it today?
Today, I think.
Today.
Oh, I can't remember. No, maybe it was
one of the days of this month.
A day ending in Y.
Anyway, the second site. Oh my goodness, how gifted are we to have them as a ongoing boutique label at the moment? Boy, oh boy. Ooh. Tell us about the restoration that they've done on the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, Mark.
So the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, I won't bother about the film. Apparently, my one comment about slight pacing issues and the score of 9 out of 10 apparently renders me any other opinion I may have invalid, according to lots of their internet play. So we won't talk about the film. What we will talk about is the set. Now, in terms of starting with the film disc itself, Texas Chain Saw Massacre has had a 4K release elsewhere. Turbine in Germany have released it. I think it was towards the back end of last year. Now, in terms of comparison to this release, Second Sight have used the same source, the same 4K restoration that was done, I believe, in 2016 by the rights holder that was used for the Turbine release. However, the Turbine release literally just took that restoration and stuck it on the disc. Second Sight have taken it, and as described in their marketing materials, they have done additional restoration work. Now, Christ knows what that is. Who knows? But they have done additional work to it. So I think someone had put in the thread, if you've got the Turbine edition, is this going to look any different? I think the answer is yes, it will. But I've not seen the Turbine edition until it starts to get out into the wild. And of course, this isn't released until a week today. Until people who have both, have seen both, or sites like Capsaholic start to put caps up of both, we won't know the extent of the difference. However, back to the Second Sight release. We've seen, and we've probably been spoiled a little bit with some really good 16mm 4K releases.
Dog Soldiers.
10 out of 10. Dog Soldiers, absolutely. We could, head over to Arrow. They've done Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. They've done The Hills Have Eyes. We know actually that 16mm can look really good.
Absolutely.
However, I've never seen 16mm look as good as this film does. It is stunning what they can get out of a 16mm source material these days. It's a native 4K. It's got both flavors of HDR on there. It's theatrically accurate, aspect ratio 1.85 to 1. In essence, there's probably a 10-minute slice of the film, slap bang in the middle of it, as the kids are wandering up to the Sawyer house. The sun is starting to set. You've got that glorious afternoon sky. And in the space of about 10 minutes, you've got scenes that pretty much sum up perfectly how good this restoration is. In terms of fine detail, you've got a scene with one of the kids peering through the gauze of the screen door, and you can pick out the detail in each individual slat or square in this gauze is unbelievable. You've got kids walking past diesel engines that are I'm talking the brightest red you've probably ever seen. The primary colors leap off the screen, but it also deals with skin tones absolutely perfectly. There's a scene where I think it's Kim gets off the swing seat in the garden as she walks up to the house, and you can see the sweat glisten, the different shades. You can even see the little slap marks on the back of the thighs where the seat has made an imprint. You've got all that sort of complexity of the skin tones, but then sort of even the HDR gets its own time to shine. As I think is it Kirk? He's walking up to the house, and as he's walking, the branches of the tree sort of flash in front of the sun, and so you go from bright, intense sunshine, plunged instantly back into shadow, and back again really quickly. But the picture just keeps up in terms of those changes of brightness, contrast, and color. It's absolutely amazing. It isn't perfect. As night sets and we've got Sally and her brother sort of hanging around the truck waiting for the friends to come back, there's a scene where there's some damage, some dust and debris is still very noticeable in a shot of the moon. As the van leaves the gas station on the way up to the house halfway through the first act, there's some really faint vertical lines that are really apparent in the sky above them. So there's a little bit of very, very low level print damage. I know we were chastised for calling it print damage because it's not damage to the print, but that's the nomenclature. So it's not exactly perfect, but my word, it looks absolutely amazing, and it is without a doubt. I haven't seen the Turbine edition, but I cannot imagine it looking as good as this. It's beautiful. However, I was kind of expecting that. What I wasn't expecting was the new Atmos track. Now, yeah, like everyone did, it was a mono source, and suddenly you've got 11 speakers now coming off a mono, and you just go, well, this can't be right. And so I just ignored it. Purist went straight for the mono track to begin with. And yep, the mono was clean, it was crisp, it had decent fidelity. And over the opening credits, you've got that really alien sound, those sound effects of like the flash bulb going and the kind of, I wouldn't do, but you know what I mean. And at that point, I thought, you know what? I'll just humor the Atmos track for the review. And I put it on, and I didn't turn it off. Honestly, what it did, the strange thing about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre is the score always sounded completely disconnected to everything else. There's nothing atmospheric. There's nothing organic sounding about it. It sounded like it was not part of this thing, and that added to part of the really grimy and grotty atmosphere of all. But what it means is when you can spread that sort of dissonant atonal sound across all the speakers, it works because it doesn't sound as forced as other, more orchestral, more traditional kind of musical tracks have done. But not just that, it even had some fun with some of the sound effects as well. We got some great overhead sounds, when the hitchhiker goes upstairs to go and bring Grandpa down for dinner. Whoa, he's running around outside you. The first time when Leatherface starts chasing Sally, you talk about a bass drop. There are some insane bass drops on this, which obviously weren't there, have been completely added in, and you could argue have no place in it, but it's all kinds of hella fun. And there was just a couple of instances where there was some strange, there's got to be some side effects of basically splitting a single track into all these different speakers. There was a couple of instances where some of the vocals, some of the sound effects had a strange echo to them, which you thought, hey up, someone's not tweaked the knob in the sound mixer there. But they were literally blink and you'll miss some kind of things. But overall, I was incredibly impressed with the Atmos track on this. So for anyone who gets it and goes, I'm not going to give that a go, give it a go. And then finally the extras. Now, I think what's so amazing here is, to cut a long story short, you have 5 audio commentaries. You have 3 feature-length making-ofs, one of which is brand new. And then if you add up all the other bits and pieces, interviews, a TV show episode, Horror's Hallowed Ground, you've got interviews with Hooper and Henkel and one of the actresses, and 25 minutes deleted scenes. If you add up all that, you've still got at least another 3 hours worth of stuff on top of those 3 feature-length making-ofs. It is insane how much stuff is in here. Obviously, there's a little bit of overlap, but what's really good about the brand new making of is it's an appreciation of the film by filmmakers, writers, and academics. It isn't repeating the making of stories. We've heard all those, and there's plenty of them elsewhere on the disc, but it's a really fun listen to people fawning over the film, explaining how it influenced their careers. You've got the likes of Mick Garris in there, you've got Fede Alvarez, you've got a whole host of people in there, and it's just a really lovely listen, but it gives you that contextual view of the film that's so often making, if you want to focus just on, well, on this day, we went to this place and we shot this and someone fell over and it was really funny. And then the film came out. Thank you. So, in terms of the on-disc extras, it's probably the most stacked set we are going to get this year for a single film. It's immense. And that is, of course, all the other stuff that comes with it, which we haven't got yet because I've only got the check disc. But the 190-page book in it, which I can't wait to tuck into as well, and Tom, your favorite, there's potentially 9 art cards.
Well, there's 3 extras if you pre-ordered it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So art cards.
I know, we know you're a fan of art cards. So to cut a long story short, if there is a better release than this at the end of this year, I will be amazed. It is a stunning set. I think this outdoes their Dawn of the Dead set, if I'm honest.
Wow.
And that's saying something. So if you have not ordered this, get on it. Now, the one good thing about Second Sight is their standard editions, you only lose the off-disc extras. All that stuff we've talked about, the 5 audio commentaries, all those features, they're all on the standard edition. If you can't get hold of the limited edition, make sure you get hold of that, because this is going to be the release of the year.
Well, I mean, alongside that, they're also releasing their version of their restoration of Picnic at Hanging Rock, which I think you're looking at for this month, right?
I am, yes. I have the check discs, but I've not tucked into them yet.
And also coming out, one of my personal favorites, George C. Scott in The Changeling, is their next release. Boy, oh boy, is that one of my favorite haunted house movies.
I mean, if you think about Second Sight, now they may only be doing 1 4K release a month, but I mean, my word, March we haven't even talked about Martin. Now another astounding release. Fascinating history on the making of that film. I didn't even know that you can make a film without a negative until I started researching Martin. Absolutely fascinating. And again, another brilliant release. But you had Martin in March. You've got Texas Chainsaw in April. You've got Picnic in May. In June, is that when we've got the Changeling?
I think it's June 10th, but I wouldn't stake my life on it.
In June, and then we know what's going to come at the end of the year, which is The Hitcher. I mean, we should all get down on the ground and worship at the feet of Second Sight, quite frankly, because they are doing the Lord's work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's going to be amazing, an amazing year for them, and long may they continue in their endeavor to bring this stuff right bang up to date. Can't wait for my copy of Texas Chainsaw. You're
gonna love it.
It's next week, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Instant buy as soon as I saw it was coming. We are fast approaching I was going to say the end of time, which is probably true, but what I mean is the end of our time on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. We know that Simon loves his Doctor Who's, and we'll just take that as read that it's good. So thank you for that, Simon. Thank you for that review.
Okay.
Coming up to look forward to this month, not this month, but this year is loads and loads of stuff.
They're coming thick and fast, man.
They really are. Not just the Second Sight releases that we've talked about, but another favored label over here with Arrow and their release of their 4K version of The Lighthouse, which is maybe my favorite movie of, was it 2019? Like, I loved that movie so much so that I already bought the A24 4K release of it. So,
bless you.
And but the Arrow one may have more extras on it, but the A24 release of it has the pattern for Robert Pattinson's jumper in it. So there's that.
That's a dark trip into Tom's mind. So art cards are so last year. This year it's knitting patterns. That's what you want in your limited editions.
Absolutely. And a reproduction of Willem Dafoe's Hark Triton speech. You've still not seen this movie, have you, Mark?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness!
There's other stuff to watch. I'll get round to it.
It's brills. It's so good.
I'm sure it is.
And a whole host of other things. The usual cinema to physical releases. We will be covering all of them. Creed, Cabin in the Woods, Avatar, as soon as somebody decides that it's good enough to go on a disc. Yeah, that it will be coming up at some point. So watch this space.
Definitely.
Well, I will say. We only have a couple of minutes left, so in as few words as possible, Picard season 3. Simon?
It started off very good. It continued quite well, and now it's teetering on the edge.
The edge of what?
Edge of the abyss.
Yeah, being god awful. I think
it's too far.
Oh, I don't know. I think you've been very cynical.
Well, I'm late. I've been burnt a lot in the past.
Come on, Mark, set us straight. Why is it so great?
I mean, what's? I mean, I've been trying to think about why I have been enjoying Picard season 3 and why, in fact, it appears that the world has lost its collective mind over it, because it is getting unanimous praise from hardcore TNG fans alike. And the only thing that I can think of, aside from, I mean, the fan service is all great. Let's be honest. They know how to do the fan service. Every single episode, there's something else which, just a little bit off to either side of what they've done, and you'd be going, oh man, that's terrible. But they are nailing it You know, there was a certain guest star from Voyager who cropped up in the opening few minutes of last week's episode. I'm just sat there going,
no, Mark, Mark, that was garbage.
Yes,
that was
no, it wasn't.
That was awful.
And if Janeway is not in this, I will riot. God damn it! I tell you, I will riot. But so apart from the fact they are getting the fan service, it seems like they have finally embraced. Do you know what? People like that Next Generation stuff we did. Why don't we just do some of that stuff? Bring some of those guys, just exactly as they were. Get them to do the same old stuff, but they're nailing that. But I think what's so good about this is it is a laser focused, narrow story that is almost forcing everyone down its corridors. There's almost no fat on the plot. Get off with you, Tom.
I want to watch the show that Mark's watching.
Come on, but there isn't. I mean, for me, anyway. For me, there is, and what it is doing is because it is so narrow a focus, it is almost distilling the essence of the characters. It's forcing the characters. You look at the individual episodes, you could argue that there's not a lot actually happening in some of the later episodes. Not really a lot.
And yet there is not a moment of fat on it.
No, because what they're doing is they're forcing all that character stuff in, and it's the character stuff that is filling. So you come away after 50 minutes and go, do you know what? If I actually think about the plot that's happened, it's not. But oh my God, there was this, and when that character said that, and when that character did that, and it for me, they've got that absolute perfect mix of an interesting story that is getting out of the way of the characters. And that is what I wanted from Picard. We watch Picard for the classic characters, and we want to see them being those characters, and that is what we are getting, and I'm loving it. Loving it.
That's good, Mark. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you don't think it's tipped way too far into fan service.
No, I want more.
I'll get off.
I want more. Straight to my eyeballs.
There can't possibly be any more.
Oh, come on. You know that they're saving the DS9 cameos for the last ultimate episode. You know that's coming.
The last two episodes have been almost pure fan service.
Yeah.
I'm with Simon. I was on board after 2 or 3 episodes, and now I'm a bit like, it could have probably done with not all of this stuff.
God, you hate joy. You hate joy.
Famously. on that note, we will be back in a number of weeks. I will not confirm how many weeks because we're taking a break. Yeah, we are. The podcast is taking a break. There will be, I believe, no podcast next week because of the Easters. But when we do come back, we'll take a proper look at another set of well-loved films, Superman 1 and 2, plus a couple of others.
Am I going to have to apologise for Superman 3 on that one? Right, bring it. Bring it.
And we also have the Musketeer movies in 4K.
Oh,
cannot wait. Love those movies.
Awesome.
So join us next time when we get to those things, because we will get to those things. And if you haven't enjoyed us rattling on about Star Trek for almost an entire hour, tough luck. So that for this evening is it for the AV Forums Movies podcast. So thank you very much for joining me, Simon.
Thank you very much, Tom. Mark, it's been superb.
And
next
Mark,
time.
Cheers, Tom. It's been emotional.
Keep it up, Mark. We need the positivity.
Joy.
If you enjoyed listening to us, which why would you? But if you did, please like and subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and do all of the YouTube things, because all of the YouTube things are good for us. And if you like us, you will do them. You can follow us on the Twitters, the Facebooks, and just on the internet, avforums.com, and you will find out all about what we think about lots of different things if you go to the website and read the words about what we think about lots of different things. 5-star review on the podcast app that you are currently listening to us on right now. As you are listening, do it. 5 stars immediately. I have been Tom Davies. Thank you very much for putting up with us for the last hour. And please come back when we talk about things that are not Star Trek next time. Good night, everyone.
Cheers all.